I'm here with Ross, the co-founder and CEO of Evoworks Bio. Ross, what are you and your team building, and what problem does it solve?
That's a great question. So, do you remember when President Trump got COVID in 2020 and received the antibody treatment? Well, so you might remember that that was not widely distributed across the United States, right? There were issues with manufacturability and logistics and that translation from the lab up to the large volumes required. So we said, can we make more translatable infrastructure, an all-in-one platform so it works in the lab, is ready for distribution en masse the next day?
Now, what has it been like in your startup now into 2026? What are some of the things you need help with?
Always funding. There is less funding in the pipeline for the early stage companies. We're trying to stay positive about it, right? It's a blessing in that we know that we're doing something valuable if we're able to make it through this. And so we're excited for those opportunities, but we're also excited for anybody who is out there right now using flasks to make proteins. We can really help you scale up. It would be great to have any kind of partnerships, especially with academics or folks who are excited about this form of synthetic biology.
Yeah, and what do you love about building here at the Engine and building in Boston?
Oh, it's great. So the Engine in particular is run by staff who they have the right facilities to follow through with how much kindness they have and time in helping us do what we want to do. They've always made sure that when we were doing something unique or wanted to work with folks inside the Engine, we had the connections and the support. It's a good community.
And what are some other startups you maybe are watching, collaborated with, admire from afar that you would give a shout out to for the community?
I'm a big fan of Drool. What the Drool guys are doing is really cool. It's a new form of diagnostics through oral tests. I'm also in biomanufacturing. There's a company called Precision Chroma that's run out of New Zealand. It is a fantastic new technology for chromatography.
This is Ross from Evoworks Bio. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to be here.
I am here with Gizem from Morphitectica. What are you and your team building, and what problem does it solve?
Yeah, we're combining synthetic biology and architecture to build self-constructing living architectures by design. What that means is we're building engineered living materials that build themselves automatically to human-designed objects. So think from an engineered capsule to a brick or a panel or a 2x4 or a rod. And we're doing this because when you look at the construction industry today, it is completely crippled by cost, carbon footprint, and these heavy logistics that rely on materials, machinery, labor on site. And when you look at how nature solved this problem for millennia, is that it just has the seed and you plant it and then you cultivate the tree. It takes a long time, but what we are doing now is we're engineering that morphogenetic code in the seed to get that little capsule to build itself to human-designed objects much faster.
That's incredible. Now, what is going on in your startup today, and what are some of the things you need the most help with?
Yeah, so the core work, the technical work, is coming from my 10 year of graduate work at the intersection of architecture and synthetic biology. I did build in my PhD the first self-constructing little architectures by design. So as a company at the Morphitectica, we're now focusing on scaling this up. And what we need the most is patient capital, because this is sort of like a moonshot. And we're looking for people who get what we're trying to build and really excited by it. And also really committed, passionate technical work and expertise, which Boston is a great place for that.
Yeah, and that's a good segue, because what do you love about building in Boston and building here at the Engine?
What I love the most in Boston, and specifically at the Engine, is that nobody's forcing me as a synthetic biologist to sort of be in a therapeutics box or clinical. And they're like, oh yeah, totally. You're combining design and synthetic biology and building something that is super sci-fi. And I think that support is amazing. And people are also doing it. I mean, when you look at the history of Engine, history of Boston, a lot of sci-fi became reality here.
And last, what are some other startups maybe you've collaborated with or watching or learned from to build your company that you would give a shout out to for the community?
So Ecovative, Biomason, a lot of their work revolves around using biogenic materials by molding and casting them into architectural objects. So we are sort of building on top of their work. What we're hoping to do is to plant a seed and have that seed automatically become a brick without you having to mold it. But with these sort of thought leaders in the field, really we have something to point to people and convince them that we're not completely crazy. There's also Foray in the building. I want to shout out to them. They're building tree products to help with this sort of deforestation problems we're experiencing. So we're in the plant space now too. So shout out Foray.
This is Gizem from Morphitectica. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm here with Scott, the co-founder and CEO of Roebling Labs. Scott, what are you and your team building, and what problem does it solve?
Yeah, so Roebling Labs is building vessel collision warning systems for vulnerable bridges, and it's a life safety system.
Awesome. And obviously, whether it's from Baltimore or just many other things around the world, super important problem. What's going on in your company today, and what are some of the things you need help with?
Yeah, so the problem at its core, like when I was a kid, cars had ashtrays and they didn't have airbags or crash-tested crumple zones. So bridges of that era, likewise, didn't think about vessel collision, and those bridges are still serving us today, and they'd cost, $5 billion in 10 years to replace. And the Francis Scott Key disaster really showed what can happen as far as collapse and life loss. And so the National Transportation Safety Board named 46 bridges across the country as vulnerable in a similar way.
And where is your company at today in terms of milestones, and what are you most excited about right now?
Yeah, so we have a working prototype, hardware and software prototype that's out in the field right now working. And then we're also engaged with a number of bridge owner customers. So what we're doing now is taking it from prototype to an actual life safety system that I'm a licensed professional engineer that we can stand behind and say, you can count on this to save lives at your site. We're in that transition right now.
Now, what do you love about building this company here in Boston and here at the Engine?
I sort of think of the Engine as like nerd Hogwarts or something, so it's just like fun to be here. We're focused on the bridge industry and building, hardware, software solutions for that industry, and it took us 2 years to find product market fit. So just staying sane and having that community, like emotional support community, I'd say is the most high value part of us for being part of the Engine, in addition to it's just fun.
Definitely. And as you think about other startups that you've watched, learned from, even admire from afar, who are some that you'd give a shout out to for the community?
Yeah, so there's Omnic AI. They're actually based out of Maine, but still in the ecosystem. And Sean Meredith, the founder there, has been a real mentor to me. So I follow them very closely and appreciate all the help he's given us along the way. He's an advisor on our company.
This is Scott from Roebling Labs. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.